All right, hey guys, it's good to be with you once again this week. And this week is our last Connect group meeting for this school year. For 2019-2020, we're going to take the summer off. For the month of June, we're going to meet together on most likely Zoom, some kind of video conferencing. And that way we can talk to one another, we can discuss, we can interact a little bit. But we won't be back in the building yet, but we will have Bible classes on Wednesday night at our regular time at 7 o'clock through video conference. And so we'll have more information come out about that next week. July, we'll see what July brings us, but do go ahead and put on your calendar August the 5th. August the 5th, that Wednesday night, is when we will start back with our Connect groups. We will hopefully be here at the building. That is the goal we have, but we will meet for dinner that night. And we'll get back started with our Connect group. So I'm already looking forward to that, but we will take a little break here during the summer. So tonight, what we're doing, or today, we're wrapping up our series on what to do when you don't know what to do. You know, we've been looking at Joseph and looking at some things going on in his life. You'll remember things were not always good for Joseph, right? Remember that he was his father's favorite. So there's something that was going pretty good for him. He got his nice coat of many colors, the gift from his father. But we also remember that his brothers hated his guts. And they hated him so much that they plotted to kill him. And not only that is, you know, they decided, okay, maybe we don't kill him, so we throw him in a pit. Let's find out what to do with him. And here's some guys coming down the road. Let's sell him into slavery. So he's sold into slavery. He's taken to Egypt as a slave. He ends up working in Potiphar's house. Things look like they're looking up for Joseph. Things are going pretty good. He's been put in charge of Potiphar's house. And then the thing happens with Potiphar's wife. She pursues Joseph. Joseph says no to her. And at that point, she falsely accuses him. And he ends up going to prison for something he didn't even do. He spends a lot of time in prison. He runs across the cupbearer and the baker, who are also thrown into prison. They had some dreams, and Joseph said, hey, I can interpret those dreams for you. So he does that. Turns out that the cupbearer is returned to his place. He is returned to being there with the king, and Joseph hopes that the cupbearer will remember him, but he does not. It's not until 2 years later he spends that time in jail. 2 years later, Pharaoh has some disturbing dreams, and the cupbearer remembers there was a man in prison that can interpret these dreams, and he brings Joseph to Pharaoh. And the interpretation from those dreams is important for our story and our focus tonight, is that there are going to be 7 years of plenty. So we have to gather up and store up food, because 7 years of famine is going to follow. With this information, Pharaoh decides to put Joseph in charge. And when you say put Joseph in charge, he puts him in charge over all of Egypt. All right? So he is second in command. He answers only to Pharaoh. Now for the Pharaoh, he's giving him all this responsibility. That really frees his time up, right? So Joseph's really running things in Egypt at this point. And what we're going to find tonight is Joseph is going to be given an opportunity, and he's going to be given a choice. And that's what we've been talking about through this whole series, is this choice. And sometimes when you have a choice before you, you don't really know what to choose. So it's what to do, again, when you don't know what to do. And today's theme is, when you don't know what to do, pursue peace rather than payback. Now think about that idea of payback. Everybody wants to get payback. If somebody hurts you, or if they offend you, or if they wrong you in some way, you always want to get payback, right? You want to get after them, and you want to show them how it feels, right? That's the whole point of payback, is making someone feel like you feel when you've been wronged, when you've been hurt, when you've been offended, whatever the situation might be. And the problem with that is, once you make that person feel bad, you realize that you're both just miserable. It hasn't resolved anything. And you continue to have these feelings. And so, you know, you mentioned or you think about the phrase misery loves company, and that's really what this is from, is I want you to feel as bad as I feel. But you realize it doesn't make either one of you feel any better. And so the idea, again, is when you don't know what to do, pursue peace rather than payback. And that's what happens with Joseph in Genesis chapter 45. We pick up where the famine has started. and his brothers have come to Egypt in order to get food. Now they come before this Egyptian authority figure, which is Joseph, and they don't recognize him. And so listen to these verses here in Genesis 45. We'll start in verse 1. It says, "Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, 'Make everyone go out from me.' So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud so that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, 'I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?' But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence." They weren't really understanding what was going on with this man. So Joseph said to his brothers, "Come near me, please." He wants them to recognize him. And see, this is the point in the story where I want you to put yourself in Joseph's place. What do? You're looking into the eyes of 11 guys who wanted to kill you, instead decided to spare your life by selling you as a slave, and all the bad things that happened from that. You're thinking about all those terrible things, and you're looking at these guys, and they've come for food. They're come asking for something from you. You think, well, he could throw them in prison just because he wants to. He has enough authority to do that. He could deny them food, send them home hungry. He could put them into slavery. He could make them slaves right there, right then and there. So Joseph has several choices to make. He can pay them back for all the wrong that they've done to him. Let's see what choice Joseph makes. So in verse 4, once again, Joseph said to his brothers, "Come near to me, please." And they came near, and he said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now, do not be distressed or angry. Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but it was God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord over all of his house, and ruler over the land of Egypt." Did you catch that? He wasn't angry, all right? He wasn't distressed, but he looks at his brothers and said, "You're not the ones who sent me here. God sent me here." You remember back in Genesis 38, I believe it is, maybe 39, around verse 2 there, it says God was with him. In all these things, Joseph knew God was with him. And he knew that even though the brothers were selling him into slavery, and the brothers were plotting to kill him, and somebody lied to throw him into prison, all these things were going to work together for good because God was with him. And so instead of pursuing payback, which many of us would probably think about, he looked for peace. How can I correct this relationship with my brothers? How can I make things right? How can I assure them that I'm not holding this against them? In fact, the reason they sold me here and they got me here and all the bad things that happened to me, that's the whole reason I'm here, and I'm able to provide for them. And he actually ends up having them move to Egypt with him. And so he's able to take care of his family, where if they never did these bad things to him, he would not be able to do that. And so Joseph looks and he sees where God has worked, even in all these terrible things that have happened. God has been at work. God was with him the entire time. He wanted to preserve the relationship with his brothers, and he could do that because of his relationship with God. And so in this sense, and you're bringing it back to our point, when there was the choice of what to do, Joseph pursued peace rather than payback. That's the thought you're going to have tonight to discuss with your groups. Thank you guys for being a part of these groups. Even in the last several weeks, it's been a little weird, a little different. But thanks for being adaptable and jumping on those Zoom calls. Next week we'll start just sort of a more regular Bible class, even though it won't be regular, it'll still be video. But we will do that for the month of June, so I'm looking forward to that. And if you need anything from me, please feel free to reach out anytime. Let me know what you need. I love you all very much. Hope to see you all soon. Bye-bye.